In this episode of Q&A, I wanted to actually answer a question I've gotten several times on my opinion of getting certified in active release techniques and what I thought about the treatment process of it. So in this episode, I go over the following: how to determine if getting certified in anything is going to improve your practice and business, my own experiences with being certified with ART, what do I like about ART? What I don't like about ART? And should you invest in the training or not? I hope you enjoy the show. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Soft Tissue Revolution podcast, where we teach self-employed massage therapists a new treatment system that focuses on working smarter, not harder, allowing them to cut their treatment times by 50% so they can stay healthy and help more people get out of pain. Dr. Matt Maggio here. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out the show. Let's jump right into it. We're back at it for Q&A. And in this episode of Q&A, I wanted to cover answer to a question that I've gotten several times, probably over the last 3 or 4 weeks, about my opinion on getting certified in active release techniques and what I really thought about the whole treatment process of it and any insights or epiphanies that I had about it. I always appreciate when you guys send me in questions and trust my opinion. I know sometimes I might not give you the answer you always want to hear, but you'd rather learn from someone that's going to tell you what you want to hear instead of what you need to hear. And I really try to answer these questions very objectively, without a lot of emotion and just looking at data. And I've actually had a lot of experience with active release techniques. I actually started taking some of their seminars all the way back. Oh shit. When was it? Starting in like 2009, when I was still a young man going through my chiropractic education. Wasn't really getting what I needed in the chiropractic model, the whole idea of like the bone going out of place and putting it back in place and the healing powers of chiropractic adjustments. You can tell by the boredom in my voice, doesn't really do anything. I started questioning everything and really got into soft tissue based treatments and understanding soft tissue. And at that time, like, a lot of people I knew were talking about ART. They had taken some courses. I even looked them up online, and they even dubbed themselves the gold standard in soft tissue based treatments. I was like, oh, this will be worth, kind of checking out. So I remember, when was it? 2009, I enrolled in my first course, upper extremity. I remember I took it in New Jersey. Really liked it. Got a lot out of it. I was very overwhelmed in the first course, but I knew that as I got better and started doing it more and more, I would get better and better. And I just was really excited to have like a new tool under my belt that a lot of other people in my school, in my clinic itself, didn't have. And I was really excited to offer that. So then I was really hooked on it. And then in that 1 year alone, I took every course. I took the spine. I took the lower extremity. I took them multiple times. I think I ended up taking each course at least twice over like a 3 or 4 year period. And I went back. This was really interesting. I went back to my school and to my clinic that I was in, student clinic. And I remember I started doing active release technique and people were like, thought it was like the coolest shit ever. And they were getting amazing results and lots of stuff. And it was going really well, even to the point where I think it was like the vice president of the school actually requested to see me because I was helping them so much in like getting better. And I was like, holy shit, this active release stuff is awesome. I love it. And I continued to do it all through school and did the soft tissue stuff. And then I got out into the real world and I was like, oh man, my first, month of practice, I'm like, I'm going to fucking kill it. I'm going to crush it. I am so good at ART. I'm going to be amazing. People are going to be lining up around the corner to come in and see me. Started doing it in practice. And then I got frustrated. Really frustrated because I found myself working really, really hard, like to the max. I was doing all these protocols. I was spending 30, 40 minutes with a client. Some were getting better, some weren't getting better. But at the end of the day, my hands were sore, my thumbs were sore, my body was sore, my mind was sore. And I was like, fuck, is this the right thing that I need to do? So I was like, you know what? Maybe I just need to get even more training and more perfection in this. So I enrolled in one of the master courses, and these are supposed to be like the cream of the crop for ART. You actually get 4 hours with the creator of the system, Dr. Leahy, and went and took that 4 hour course. And in all honesty, it was a joke. It was the same of everything. There was no respect to like actual getting to the root cause of what's going on. It was like, hey, just do this protocol. And then every time someone had a difficult case, Dr. Leahy would just say, hey, you're just missing it. There's just like one pebble shaped piece of scar tissue or adhesion inside there that you're just missing. And there was no like focus on critical thinking and actually being able to figure out what the problem was. And I left there with a really bad taste in my mouth and decided I wasn't going to do active release technique anymore after taking 9 or 10 seminars. Yeah. So I guess you're going to see the gist of what I think about active release technique. And I wanted to break down a couple things in this episode. First, I'm going to go through like just the idea of like certifications and knowing like if a certification or a new technique or a new treatment or system is going to improve your business. I really covered this in depth in a previous podcast about looking at the return of investment on that, because so many of us get what's called shiny object syndrome, where we just want to take every single course there is. We want to have more and more trainings, more, certificates on the wall. And we're really doing a lot of things and we're not good at anything. What did I always say? A jack of all trades, master of none. So I'll link that podcast up so you can go back and listen to that as well. So you can really get a better idea of like what I think about courses, how I judge them, think about them, and it might surprise you what I actually say. So what do I like about ART? ART was the first, system to really emphasize the finding and fixing of adhesion or scar tissue. And I'm going to be honest with you. I solemnly believe, and my whole business and practice is built on the idea that scar tissue is the number one cause of decreased flexibility, pain, and weakness in the human body. It is also the most fixable and most leastly diagnosed by providers out there. So that is something that I've really focused my whole delivery, my whole practice in, is the finding and fixing of scar tissue. And ART was really the first system that actually did that. It was amazing. I was like, this is so cool. Like, we're actually finding this dysfunction in the muscle and fixing it, restoring range of motion, breaking that adhesion down. I'm like, this is so freaking awesome. And I was like spellbound when I was first a student taking it. And it was like, this is so cool. And I'm like, this is awesome. I have like 300 different protocols that I can do. And think of all these people that I'm going to be able to help and go to the next level and just be in such a higher echelon than everyone else out there. And like I said, I liked ART and I don't have any bad things to say about ART, but well, actually I do have some bad things to say about ART, and I'm going to cover them next. So I have 5 problems with ART that I started seeing as I got better in my delivery, critical thinking, everything like that. So number 1 is ART really focuses on symptom pattern charts. So, the symptoms are really important, but they're really a small part of the clinical picture from what I started to see. It is far more effective to combine like the history, the functional based analysis, and the palpation to identify exactly where that scar tissue is. And what happens with ART is they basically assume that all problems are due exactly because of adhesion or scar tissue, and they don't account for other pathologies like a disc problem, a stress fracture, cartilage damage, all sorts of things. And the thing is, a lot of providers, they don't actually even use those symptom charts. They just kind of look at them and put them on the wall, but they don't really use them. Another thing that we started to see as well was just this idea that like treating healthy tissue. ART basically teaches you to treat just the adhesion and treat it in the entire muscle. And in all honesty, a complete and accurate diagnosis is really necessary for any optimal case management and results. And the diagnosis part and figuring out what's wrong needs to come first, but ART puts it after the treatment. And a lot of times I started realizing was my clients were coming in to me to solve a problem and not perform a technique. ART is a great technique, but it's not a system. It doesn't tell you where exactly the problem is. Another thing that I started seeing was we were just playing favorites. And what does that mean? Not having a detailed system of diagnoses, I don't say that word right, a detailed evaluation system, caused us, even me as a provider, just start picking a couple of favorite tissues to treat. Basically if the patient came in and they had low back pain, I'd maybe do 2 or 3 of the same protocols that I like to do. And they got ART. If they had neck pain, I do 2 or 3 of my favorite ones as well. And then what happened is when I'm playing favorites, it really destroyed the detail that makes the treatment effective. And without a detailed diagnostic system, it doesn't really matter because we end up treating what we want instead of what the client actually needs. And lastly is just too many protocols. ART, they put equal emphasis on like all of their 300 protocols. In reality, some structures are treated way more frequently and others only in a rare or difficult case. And the treatments should be weighted towards the most important and common structures. I have been aware of these active release shortcomings for a while, and that's why I started taking steps to correct them. And the system that I created myself called the PEAK method really gives me the tools to make a complete and accurate diagnosis of what's going on and knowing exactly where that scar tissue is, so I can determine like if it's actually the main cause, and I can pick the one that needs the best treatment, treating the one that's going to make the biggest type of difference. This allows us to have those shorter but more effective treatment times of 15 or 20 minutes where we're actually getting in there and treating effectively and finding and fixing where that problem is. And I'm not spending 30, 40 minutes doing 9 or 10 ART protocols and really getting some results, but not getting as many results as I could, and really beating up my body and putting myself in a rough place because I don't really know what's going on. I always say, if you can't fix a problem, if you can't find a problem, you can't fix it in the first place. And that's a lot of what I found with ART, is that it wasn't going to the root cause of what's going on. So that's just my 2 cents on the ART certification. I think it's good, but if you're getting it just so you can be like, I'm an ART provider, here's the thing. No one gives a shit about what you do or how you do it. They just care that you can actually fix the problem. And I don't think ART is equipped to actually get you to the root cause of what's going on. It is a good technique, but with any good technique, you need a good evaluation system on the front end, and that's just lacking in ART. So if you're thinking about it now, last time I looked, I think their courses are like anywhere between like $2,000 and $4,000 plus travel and all that. I just don't think the return on investment is there for what you're going to get out of it. I think you're better off investing in your critical thinking skills, learning exactly what the problem is. And then if you want to go and take a course like ART, that might help. It might help you with the treatment. I just don't think that starting with the treatment side and before learning how to critically think and figure out the problem is going to actually help you. But that's the problem with most musculoskeletal practitioners. They just want to jump right into the treatment and never really have a plan. They're stuck winging it. They're not getting good results. They're beating the fuck out of their bodies. They're tired. They're frustrated. They're not making the money they want to make, and they're burnt out. And I think ART will just allow you to be more burnt out, maybe at a little higher level, but I don't think you can charge that much more than a general massage either if you're doing ART, because you don't have consistent results. At the end of the day, it's about consistent results. I know I rambled on a little bit on this one, but this was a really important podcast, and I got a bunch of questions, so I promised that I would make the answer to this Q&A. But go back and re-listen to the one where I talked about, that I linked up in the show notes, about what certifications or courses I recommend. That'll really help you to just determine if you should or shouldn't take a course. And understand, like I said before, no one cares about how or what you do. They care that you can do it and get so damn good that nobody else can ignore you, and people will come from miles around to get fixed by you because you are a solutions provider, because you start with actually using your fucking brain and thinking correctly before you ever apply a treatment. That's all I got for you guys. Appreciate you guys listening, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye. Thanks so much for listening. If you want help on the path to being able to double your income, all while working 50% less and being taken seriously as a healthcare provider, I have some great resources for you. Number 1, get access to our free training modules and introduction to my system, the PEAK method. Number 2, subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Soft Tissue Revolution. Links to all of this can be found in the show notes. Lastly, if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star review and share it with others that you know it could help.